Hey, if you're new here, my name's Tayyaba and I am doing a video series all about my egg freezing journey that I got done in downtown Toronto. I froze my eggs in January of 2024, so it's been about a year since I got it done, and here are all of my thoughts. I wanted to answer some of the most common questions that people were asking me about freezing my eggs, if I would do it again, do I regret it, what do I think about it, and why I think that everybody should at least have this conversation with themselves and think about it too, because I feel like it's the best insurance policy for yourself and for your life if that's something that you know you want in the future. So if you want to just get right into it, why did I decide to freeze my eggs? And that comes with a lot of, I guess, like sub questions or sub answers that might be relevant to you. So I knew I wanted to freeze my eggs because I was in a pretty serious long-term relationship, and that was for like most of my adult life. And when things didn't work out, I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do now? Because I always knew that I wanted to have kids. That's of course a very personal decision, but I knew for myself that I really wanted to have kids one day. And when I was in that relationship, I saw that being my future. So when that didn't happen, it was kind of like this thing that I had always wanted was kind of taken away from me, and not by that person, more so this idea that I had for myself. So by getting my eggs frozen, I felt like it was my way of making sure that that would happen, or at least getting one step closer to making sure that that could happen, because now I was taking charge over what I wanted in my life. Wanting to have kids or not wanting to have kids or being unsure, all of those are totally fine. Maybe there's some more options I haven't even thought of, whether it's adopting or having your own or having a surrogate or whatever the different options are. I think that is an individual decision and there's no right or wrong. But for me, I knew that I really want to have kids. Like, that's something that I just look forward to. I see myself really wanting to do and be a mom. I knew I wanted to have kids one day. That's kind of where this all started. And a friend of mine had actually gotten her eggs frozen. And it was the first time I really heard about anybody in Toronto or anybody that I knew getting their eggs frozen. I knew about IVF, but I didn't know that people just got their eggs frozen like proactively. And when she told me that she did it and she had a good experience, then I was like, oh, it's not just for like celebrities, or it's not just for, people who live in the States or in LA, or some of these kind of stereotypes that you tend to have, at least I have, of like, oh, it's for like rich celebrities and that's who does this thing. And, regular people don't get that done. And maybe that's a pretty closed-minded way to see it, but that's kind of how I saw it. I thought, oh, well, I didn't even know that that was accessible to me. Like, I didn't even know there was a place here that did it unless you were trying to actively have a baby. My friend told me that she got it done and she doesn't regret it at all and she would do it again. I thought, oh, well, maybe if she can do it, maybe I can too. So I started looking into it, and I'm really glad that I did, because I feel like no one talks about this. Nobody talks about what your options are, when you should start thinking about it, if it's a good idea or not. Is it does it hurt? Is it expensive? Like, no one really in my friend circle talked about it. And I don't know if that's just because my friends weren't thinking about that right now, or was it because they decided they didn't want kids, or they just didn't know that it existed, or financial reasons. Like, I don't know why. And bottom line is, it doesn't really matter. But the point is that I hadn't heard about it until this point. So yeah, one of the main reasons was for future planning, because you never know. Tomorrow's not promised. You don't know where your fertility is at. Like, I don't think that they ever talk about that at the doctor's office, at least not at my doctor's office. I've never been asked about like future planning unless it was like for birth control. So I really thought of it as like the cost of regret. Like, how much would it cost me now to do this thing versus the cost of something in the future potentially not being possible? Would I be mad at myself or regret things, or kind of like kick myself thinking, oh, I wish I had just done that. Like, I don't want to live my life with regret. And so I thought, even though it is not cheap and it is a big chunk of money, will I regret not doing this later? And my answer was, yeah, I would regret it. Like, say in 5 years, I find out that, oh, actually, I don't even want to put that in the universe, but say in the future, I can't even say it. But just to say that in the future, I just wanted an insurance policy so that in the future, I wouldn't regret not doing it. And honestly, if like in 3 years or 5 years or some amount of years, I decide that I don't want to use these eggs, or I don't even need to use them because I end up having kids naturally, then it's okay. Like, it's just money. And obviously it's very privileged to just say, hey, it's just money, like it'll come back or whatever. But at the end of the day, like when you die, you don't get to take anything with you. And so yes, it's money, but it's just money. And if that sets me back in some way financially, you know what? We will get through this. The thing that you can't take back is time. And I didn't want to regret not having done this if down the line I did need to use these eggs. So at the end of the day, I don't regret my decision at all. I'm so glad that I did it. That idea of regret is what made me also want to do this and not want to just say, you know what, I'll see in a couple of years or I'll decide later. Like, I just wanted to make sure that I had all my ducks in a row from now. Anything that I can control, I want to be able to control. And this was something that's within my control. So that's why I did it. It's kind of like insurance. You know, you don't really want to have to use it, but if you do, it's a good thing that it's there. And so I encourage you to think about it. If it's something that you think you really want, you know you want kids, or you think you might want kids, and maybe you don't know who you're going to end up with. Maybe you haven't met your perfect partner. Maybe you're not in a place where you're like, I can see myself having kids with this person who's going to be in my life forever. Then maybe do this, because it might be a good insurance policy and you don't want to live with regret of, oh, I wish I had done that, because you can't turn back time. The next question that I got is, why did I pick Mount Sinai? So Mount Sinai is a hospital in downtown Toronto, and that's where I decided to get my eggs frozen. They have their own clinic. They have a publicly funded and a privately funded branch of the clinic, and I decided to do the privately funded one because I'm not eligible for public funding because I'm doing it elective. I picked Sinai for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that one of my friends went there and had a positive experience. I think it helps to have somebody who's been through it because they can give you their thoughts on it and share their experience, and then you kind of have that like social proof, or that that validation that, hey, this is like a legit place and it went well. So my friend went to Mount Sinai, and that was one of the big reasons why I was considering it. But on top of that, I also really like that it's a teaching hospital. So because Mount Sinai is affiliated with the hospital, I felt like there was going to be more strict regulations about what can and can't be done, protocols. It's like a pretty well-established hospital here. So I felt like it was the best bet compared to a private clinic because I know they're going to be following the rules. Now, I'm sure that other organizations are also going to be following the rules because they're still within Canada. But I just felt that being associated with the hospital gave it kind of a level of respect and prestige and legacy that I felt more comfortable with. Like, I wouldn't want to go to a clinic personally that, you know, just opened last year and they don't have years and years and years of experience in the game to say, yeah, we know what we're doing. Yeah, we know how to freeze your eggs and store them. Like, my worst nightmare. I don't even want to put this in the universe. I just have heard horror stories of people whose eggs, they got frozen and then they got lost, or they got, you know, put in the wrong place or transported. And I just wanted something that's been around for a really long time. For example, say a new clinic pops up, you go there and then they have to close down. Like, then what? At least if it's a government funded organization, the chances of them closing or going bankrupt is a lot lower. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I picked Mount Sinai. The other thing that was really important was that it was close to me. So while I could walk there or take transit, I was driving there. And the drive was like a 7 to 10 minute drive in the morning and maybe 15 minutes afterwards, like after the appointments, because the appointments were usually around 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. So when I went to the clinic, there was no traffic. And on the way home, there was very little traffic. And because I knew I was going to have to go into the clinic multiple times a week, I just thought that having a clinic closer by would be better for me because it's just more convenient. And I still was working while I got all this done, and I didn't take any time off really, except for the surgery. The trust, the reputation, the fact that it's affiliated with the hospital, it has a government funded program, it's close by, and I had a friend who went there. All of those were reasons why I really would recommend it, because I feel like it's trusted. And then just from my own experience, like I think overall I had a really positive experience going there. I don't feel like it was anything special. The doctors were good, the nurse practitioners were nice, the nurses were nice when I interacted with each of those different disciplines. So, I mean, I have no complaints. One of the things that I wish was a bit different was I really, really value face-to-face interactions, and for something so important and so big as this, I actually would have really appreciated had we had a sit down face to face for at least the initial visit. So in my situation, and I'm guessing this is post pandemic, the initial visit was virtual. Maybe it was always virtual, but my visit was virtual for the initial and a couple of the follow-ups as well. And I just really feel it would have been nice to be able to build rapport and meet that person in the office and in the clinic and just ask the questions I needed to. And this is just kind of my own interpretation of things. And I know it may not necessarily be true, but I just feel like when you meet someone digitally or virtually, they have less incentive to really care about you versus when you see them in person. I just feel like if my nurse practitioner, my doctor sees me in person, they're going to care more about me versus over a screen. Like then you're just an appointment and a number. And maybe it's the same in person too, but I just feel like there's a difference for me. I feel more connected. Maybe I care more when I see someone in person versus when I see them virtually. So honestly, I think that would have been really nice to be able to have had the option to say, hey, do you want to come in person or do you want to do a video call? I would have really appreciated being able to come in person. Then again, maybe that causes more delays or wait times or something like that. I don't know. It would have been nice to have the option, and I really do value in-person contact. The next question to think about is why at age 30? So why not do it sooner? Why not do it later? From everything that I read online, from the different resources that I checked, they won't really consider it before age 30. I don't know if that's clinic specific or country specific or what, but I was reading online about how usually we start talking about fertility preservation after age 30, and it's really more considered after age 35. Age 30 is still considered extremely young to get your eggs frozen. I guess the idea is that, it's expensive, and when you're 25 years old, the chances of you meeting someone in the next 10 years is very high. Even when you're 30, the chance of you meeting someone in the next 5-10 years is still pretty high, and you still have like good fertility then. And maybe after the age of 35, that's when it can be a little bit more difficult to have kids, but not saying that it's impossible. And for me, it was kind of like, I know I want to have kids, so why would I wait until it's hard? Like why wait until it's hard to have kids for me to then do the egg stuff? Especially because I had the means and financial ability to do it now. So I get that I didn't need to get it done yet, but I didn't want to regret anything. And if a 30-year-old egg is better and healthier than a 35-year-old egg, why wouldn't I then freeze my 30-year-old egg? Why would you wait until it's harder? Why would you wait until they're older when you can get it when they're younger? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I did it at 30. I hadn't thought about it before. And as soon as I kind of started to think about it, that's when the wheel started moving and turning, and I said, okay, I want to go do this. It's not like I knew that this egg freezing thing was around since I was like 20 or 25. I only really learned about it at like 28 or 29. And then it took about 6 months for the whole process to happen. And at that point, I was 30. So that's kind of why I decided to do it. It's also important to talk to your healthcare team about your fertility. So that's another thing that we don't really talk about a lot. My doctors never really talked to me about it or mentioned it, but you have kind of no idea what your fertility is until I guess you try to have kids and whether or not you have an easy time at it or a hard time at it. Like, nobody talks about it. Nobody tells you that there's blood work that you can do and follicular scans that you can get done that will kind of estimate your fertility. I understand that, labs can be busy or there's a cost for some of these things, but like sometimes it's worth it. If it can give you the peace of mind to say, hey, I'm not going to have kids now because I don't want to have kids yet and my fertility is still really good, then great. Like, then you don't have to worry about it right now and you can reassess it in a year or two. But what if you really wanted to have kids and your fertility wasn't very high? Wouldn't you rather get your egg stuff done sooner than later? Again, everyone's decision is individual and I'm not trying to pressure anybody. I feel like I have to be so careful with this topic because I don't want to offend anybody. But for me, it's like, it's a no-brainer. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is some of the questions that I encourage you to think about if you're going to decide whether or not egg freezing is the right option for you. So think about, do you want kids? Is that something that you want? It doesn't have to be now, but is that something that you see you having? And what does that look like for you? Does that mean adoption? Does that mean surrogacy? Does that mean having your own biological children? Does that mean something else? What does that mean for you? If you want to have kids, what does that look like? If you don't want to have kids, what does that look like? What does your life look like? What would make you happy? What makes you feel like you're fulfilled in your life? Or I don't know, that's a little dramatic, but what do you see for yourself? And do you think kids fit into that picture? How do you know that you want kids? What is it that makes you know that that's true? It's a good question to ask. Can you afford it right now? Is this something that you can actually afford without any issues? Like, is this something that you're like, yeah, I can afford this and I'm not going to go into debt for this? Some people may choose to go into debt for this, but for me, it was something that was important for me not to be in debt if I were to make this decision. So can you afford this? Does this fit within your financial plan? Because like I said, it's not cheap, and I'm going to do a whole video about the cost. Do I need to be worried about my fertility? So maybe that's doing some investigation with a doctor or your nurse practitioner and asking them, hey, do I need to be worried about this? And what are the blood tests and types of, ultrasounds or scans that I need to do to find out the answer to this question? Am I okay with the risk of having a hard time and spending the money and effort and time later? Am I okay with that risk? Maybe right now is not the time. Maybe you do have the money, but maybe you're just like, I don't want to deal with that right now. Maybe you got other stuff going on. Are you okay that in the future, it could be harder and you might have to put money and time and effort into it? Are you okay with that? Maybe that's the mental energy and brain space and like whatever else is going on in your life, like circumstances, that is what fits for you. But are you okay with postponing that decision and the potential of things being harder or take more brain space? Like, is that okay? Because if you're okay with it, then you're okay with it. And the last thing I just want to again say is tomorrow's not promised. We have to make decisions now that are gonna ultimately help us in the future. And so if you think this is the right decision for you, go for it. Here I am saying that I do not regret this decision one bit. Like, there's nothing that I regret in this decision. And if you aren't sure, think about it some more. And if you're sure you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Nobody's making you do anything. It's really a decision that you get to make for yourself, about yourself, and it's entirely yours, and you can be selfish in that. And if you feel that you can afford it and you have the time and the energy and the mental space and the supports for it, I think you should do it. There's always going to be risks, and you should definitely talk to your healthcare provider about your individual risks before doing it. But I just want to say that I don't regret my decision whatsoever. I'm so glad that I did it, and I would 100% do it again if I had to. So I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed this video, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye.